And I finally got a project that I want to push till the wheels fall off. Like, mother gotta get tired of these songs. Like, you gotta get tired of the songs. You gotta get tired of how I packaged it up. Like, I finally got the package. I ain't never had a package.
Have you ever trusted someone so much, only to realize later that they were the one who hurt you the most? What if the person you loved, the one who was supposed to be there for you, ended up being the one who ended your life? This is a shocking and tragic story of Tan DaGod, a rising rap star who trusted the wrong person. Tan DaGod was a young woman with a dream. She grew up in a tough neighborhood where she had to fight for everything she had. As she grew older, she turned to music to express the pain, struggles, and dreams that filled her heart. Her rap songs were full of raw emotion, talking about surviving hard times, fighting against the odds, and standing strong after facing abuse and violence. Her music resonated with many people who had gone through similar challenges. Tan became an icon for those who felt alone and misunderstood. But while her career was growing, her personal life was filled with shadows. Behind the bright lights and loud music, Tan had a dark past that she couldn't escape. She had suffered through an abusive relationship with a man named Marcus Mack Green, a man who had hurt her in ways she couldn't forget. Just a few days before Tan DaGod was set to perform at one of her biggest events in Oakland, something terrible happened. Tan was shot during a promotional event, and the world went into shock. How could this happen to someone who had just started reaching the top of her career? Everyone thought it was just another random act of violence. Someone tried to rob her, or maybe someone angry at her success. The police started their investigation, trying to piece together what had happened. They spoke to witnesses and looked for clues that would explain why Tan, who had so much going for her, was suddenly gunned down. But they couldn't find any answers. It seemed like a senseless crime with no clear reason behind it. However, the investigators didn't stop there. They decided to review the surveillance footage from the event, hoping to find something that could help. What they found would turn everything they thought they knew about Tan's death upside down. As the investigators watched the video, they saw something that shocked them. The footage showed that Tan's death wasn't a random crime, and it wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. It was something much worse. Tan's ex-boyfriend Mac, who Tan had always claimed to have killed in self-defense years earlier.
Degree, you know, like, so when I look at this little tombstone, I be like, man, it's crazy. So September 23rd is like the day I dropped Pond them top. You know what I'm saying? So I had to put that on there. Well, not really. Really, it's 3 years ago I dropped Pond them top. It's like the anniversary, and I just happen to have court on this day. Everything just came together. So I got this to be extra fucking childish, making families mad. And oh well, because they ain't gonna do shit about it.
Smoking on that Axewood pack.
Oh yeah, you know it. Matter of fact, I got to smoke on this dead motherfucker as we speak. Hold up.
In the footage, Mac was seen entering the venue with other people, moving around the crowd, and even getting close to Tan. But why was he there? Why hadn't anyone realized he was still alive? Tan had spent years building her career on the story of survival, claiming that she had killed her abuser in a desperate act of self-defense. Her fans and supporters rallied around her, believing that she had been a victim of violence who had fought back to save herself. But the reality was that Mac had never been dead. He had been hiding, waiting, and plotting to get revenge. And on that fateful night, he got his chance. The video revealed that Mac was the one who shot Tan. He had carefully planned everything, using his connection to her past and her music career to get close to her again. He knew exactly how to manipulate the people around her, and he knew just how to strike when the moment was right. Mac's return wasn't just about revenge. It was about finishing what he had started. The police and investigators believed it was just another case of street violence. But after watching the footage, they realized that it was something much more complicated and tragic. It wasn't just a random shooting. It was a calculated act of betrayal and revenge from someone who had been hiding in the shadows for years. Tan DaGod's death wasn't the end of the story of survival. It was the beginning of a story of deception, betrayal, and a lie that had been carefully constructed over time. She had trusted someone she thought was long gone, and that trust ultimately led to her tragic end. If you enjoy real crime stories that uncover the truth, Don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us share real cases, spread awareness, and give a voice to those who can't speak for themselves. Before we begin, let us know in the comments, where are you watching from? And what are your thoughts as the story unfolds? Welcome to True Crime Tales, where we reveal the crimes that shock communities and the secrets hidden behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Now let's begin. Tan DaGod, born Tanya Williams, was a woman who rose from a life full of struggles and hardships. Her name change to Tan DaGod was not just for style or attention. It was a symbol of her strength and survival. DaGod represented her power and her victory over the many challenges she had faced in her life. But Tan's story wasn't easy, and her journey was far from simple. Tan grew up in a difficult neighborhood where danger and violence were common. Her surroundings were filled with crime, and many people around her were involved in illegal activities. Tan's family struggled to make ends meet, and her neighborhood was filled with people who didn't always make the best choices. Living in this environment, Tan learned quickly how to survive, and she often had to protect herself and her loved ones from harm. Despite these tough conditions, Tan was determined to make something of her life. She knew that she didn't want to end up like many of the people around her. She wanted to escape the cycle of violence, and that's when she found music. When Tan was still a teenager, she began to rap about the things she had seen and experienced in her life. Music became her way of expressing everything that was happening around her. She rapped about the struggles she faced growing up, about how people treated her and the pain she felt. But Tan didn't just sing about the problems. She sang about overcoming them. Her raps talked about abuse, survival, and strength. She used music to speak to others who had faced similar challenges. In her songs, she shared stories of people who had been hurt, but also stories of how they fought back, stood up for themselves, and survived. As she got older, more and more people connected with Tan's music. She became the voice for many who felt like they didn't have one. Her songs weren't just entertainment. They were messages of hope and encouragement for those who were struggling, telling them they could make it through the tough times, just like she had. Tan didn't want to be just another singer. She wanted to be someone who could make a difference in the lives of others. As Tan's career grew, her music became more popular. People started to listen to her, not only because her rapping was good, but because her words had meaning. She spoke about abusive relationships, about fighting back, and about standing tall in a world that often didn't seem to care about people like her. Tan wasn't afraid to talk about difficult subjects. She knew that many people felt like they couldn't talk about the bad things that happened to them. But Tan did it, and she did it loud. She made sure that everyone knew about her story. And in doing so, she helped others share their own stories. Her fans loved her for being real and honest. They didn't just like her music. They admired her courage to speak out about things that no one wanted to talk about. Her songs became anthems for people who'd been through hard times, and Tan became a role model for many. One of Tan's most famous songs was called My Survival. This song became her biggest hit, and it introduced her to the world. In this song, Tan rapped about an event in her life that no one had known about before. She claimed that she had killed her abusive ex-boyfriend in self-defense.
Degree, you know, like, so when I look at this little tombstone tone, I be like, man, it's crazy. So September 23rd is like the day I dropped Pond them top, you know what I'm saying? So I had to put that on there. Well, not really. Really, it's 3 years ago I dropped Pond them top. It's like the anniversary, and I just happen to have court on this day. Everything just came together. So I got this to be extra fucking childish, making families mad. And oh well, because they ain't gonna do shit about it.
Smoking on that Axwood pack.
Oh yeah, you know it. Matter of fact, I got to smoke on this dead motherfucker as we speak. Hold up.
Her ex-boyfriend, Marcus Mack Green, had been someone who hurt her badly, and Tan said she had no choice but to fight back when he attacked her. The song became a huge hit, and many people believed her. They thought of her as a woman who had survived something terrible and fought back for her own safety. The song gave her a new level of fame, but also painted a target on her back. While Tan's fans supported her, there were others who doubted her story. Some people wonder whether she really killed her ex-boyfriend in self-defense, or if something darker had happened. But Tan never backed down. She stuck to her story, and for many, that made her a hero, a symbol of strength and survival. While Tan became a rising star, her fame came with its challenges. Her personal life was often in the spotlight. People questioned the truth of her past, but to never let the rumors or doubts affect her. She continued to share her story through her music, and her fans continued to love her for it. However, fame also brought unwanted attention. Some people were not as supportive of Tan's rise to fame, and others wanted to bring her down. As she became more successful, the dangers around her grew. Her story, which had started as a way to inspire others, now made her a target for those who didn't want to see her succeed. Tan DaGod's journey wasn't easy, but it was powerful. From growing up in a dangerous neighborhood to becoming a voice for the voiceless, she built her career on the strength and survival of those who've been hurt, just like her. But as her fame grew, so did the dangers, and the story of her past and the truth about her ex-boyfriend would come back to haunt her in ways no one expected. Tan's music might have made her famous, but her story would ultimately define her, and the shocking truth behind her life would change everything. Tan DaGod, the popular rapper, was not just known for her music, but also for the dark, painful stories she often shared with her fans. She had an ex-boyfriend named Marcus Mac Green. Mac was known to be a very violent person. People who knew him said he was connected to bad groups and had a history of doing bad things. Tan often talked about how Mac hurt her. She said that for years he had been abusive, which means he treated her very badly. He would get angry for small things and hurt her in different ways. Tan said she was scared of him because he would not stop hurting her, no matter how many times she asked him to stop. One night, Tan said Mac attacked her again, and this time, she couldn't take it anymore. She said she was forced to defend herself. She said she had no choice but to fight back when Mac hurt her. In the end, she said she had to protect herself, and in doing so, Mac got hurt and died. According to Tan, it was a terrible accident, but she had to do it to save herself. After this story, Tan became known as a woman who had fought for her life. Many people who heard her story saw her as a brave, independent woman who survived a very tough situation. Her fans admired her for being strong. They saw her as a hero who fought back against someone who hurt her for a long time. Tan's song, My Survival, became a big hit. In it, she talked about her life with Mac and how she had to fight him to stay alive. Her fans listened to the song and felt connected to her. They supported her because they believed her story, and many thought she had been through something really hard and came out strong. However, not everything was as clear as it seemed. While Tan's story made her a hero to many, some people started to wonder if there was more to it. After Tan's big rise to fame, investigators who were looking into her past and her ex-boyfriend's death started to find strange things. The police thought Mac was dead because Tan had said she killed him in self-defense. But as they dug deeper, they began to find new clues that didn't add up. There were whispers that Mac might still be alive. Some people started asking, did Mac really die that night, or did he fake his death? The more the investigators looked, the more they found things that made them question Tan's story. There were no signs of a real fight between Tan and Mac, and no real proof that Mac was dead. It looked like Mac had disappeared without a trace after the incident, and no one really knew what happened to him. People started to wonder, was it possible that Tan had not killed him at all? Was it possible that he had faked his own death and was secretly hiding, while the whole world believed he was gone? The investigators took a closer look at the events leading up to the night of Mac's death. They interviewed people who were close to Tan and Mac, and they looked at all the evidence again. As they worked, they discovered something shocking. It turned out that Mac had never really been dead. Instead, he had staged his own death. He used his violent past and his connections to stay hidden while everyone thought he was gone forever. He had done this to escape punishment for the things he had done in the past, and it was all part of a plan to stay safe from the law. When Mac's death was first reported, no one had questioned it because Tan's story seemed believable. After all, she was a victim of abuse, and her fans trusted her. But the truth was very different from what everyone had been told. Mac had been pretending to be dead, and he had been living somewhere in secret. now that the investigators had uncovered this. The big question was, why did Tan tell everyone that she had killed Mac? Did she really kill him, or was she part of the lie? Did she know that Mac was still alive? If she did, why did she hide the truth? If she didn't know, then why did Mac go through all this trouble to fool everyone? These questions kept people guessing. Tan had built a career on the story of her survival, but now it looked like everything was based on a lie. Fans who had supported her were left confused and unsure of what to believe. Had Tan been a hero, or had she been part of a big secret? The twist in Tan's story shocked everyone. It made them wonder how many times we hear a story and believe it without asking questions. Sometimes, the truth can be hidden behind a lie, and the truth is always harder to find than it seems. In the end, the truth about Mac's death changed everything. It made people question Tan's life and her career, and left them wondering if the person they had trusted was really who they thought she was. Tan DaGod became a famous rapper, but she wasn't just known for her music. Her story was even more powerful than her songs. Tan's rise to fame was quick and exciting, like a rocket shooting through the sky. People didn't just love her music, they loved her story. Her fans admired her bravery. Tan's music told the world about the struggles she had faced. She rapped about surviving difficult things in her life, especially about how she got away from an abusive relationship. Her song spoke to many people who had been through tough times too. They saw her as a hero, someone who fought back and survived. She became a symbol of strength and courage. Her hit songs started playing everywhere. Her lyrics were raw, emotional, and real. People who had faced similar struggles felt like Tan understood them. Fans went crazy over her music, and soon Tan DaGod was performing on big stages. Her shows were always packed. She would sing and rap with all her energy, and the crowd would cheer and scream for her. It was clear that she had become a star. As Tan's fame grew, she started to get recognition from all over the world. People knew her name, and her fans kept growing. She was invited to perform in many places, and her music was played on the radio and TV. It seemed like Tan DaGod was unstoppable, but there was something about her life that wasn't as simple as it appeared. On stage, Tan was a powerhouse. She gave everything she had to her performances. Her fans saw her as a strong and confident woman who could handle anything. She made them feel inspired, like they could also be strong no matter what life threw at them. But what they didn't know was that off the stage, Tan lived a very different life. Behind the scenes, Tan wasn't the same confident person that everyone saw on stage. She was haunted by memories of her past, especially of her ex-boyfriend, who she claimed to have killed in self-defense. This man had been abusive toward her, and Tan said she had no choice but to defend herself. But no one really knew the full story. Was that really what happened? Or had things been different? In her private life, Tan lived in constant fear. She was always looking over her shoulder, wondering if her past would catch up with her. Even though she had built an amazing career, Tan still carried the weight of her past with her every day. The man she had claimed to have killed was a big part of that fear. She told her fans that she killed and protect herself, but no one knew if that was a whole truth. Was her career built on a lie? Many people believe her story because of her music and the way she talked about surviving. She had turned her pain into songs that resonated with people. But what if the truth was much darker than anyone realized? What if her success was built on a story that wasn't entirely true? Tan's public image was that of a strong woman who fought back against abuse. But in private, she was still dealing with the fear and trauma from her past. While she performed and made new songs, her past seemed to hang over her like a dark cloud. It wasn't just her ex-boyfriend that haunted her. It was a lie that she had built her career on. Fans loved her for being real. But was she really being honest with them? Had she created a persona to hide the truth about her past? Or was there something more to her story that no one knew about? Tan DaGod had become a role model for so many people, especially those who had been through difficult times. She made them believe that they could survive anything and still come out strong. But as her career grew, so did the questions about her past. Had Tan built her career on her pain, or was there something much darker that she was hiding? Tan DaGod's rise to fame was incredible. She went from a tough life in the streets to being a global music star. Her powerful story of survival made her famous, and her fans loved her for it. But the real question is whether Tan's success was based on the truth, or whether she had created a story to protect herself from the fear and pain of her past. No matter what, Tan's legacy will always be remembered for the way she inspired so many people. But the mystery of her private life and the truth behind her rise to fame will always be part of her story. It was an exciting night in Oakland. Everyone was looking forward to the big event where Tan DaGod, the famous rapper, was going to perform. Tan had become a star, and her fans couldn't wait to see her live on stage. The event was being held in a large hall, filled with people who were there to celebrate her success. Tan's team was busy making sure everything was perfect. The stage was set with bright lights, and the air was buzzing with excitement. Fans waited eagerly, hoping to get a good view of their favorite artist. The media had cameras ready to capture every moment. Tan's music had inspired so many people, and tonight was her chance to show the world why she was so special. As the night went on, the time to perform arrived. Tan stood backstage, preparing for her moment in the spotlight. She was excited, ready to give everything she had to her fans. She had worked hard to get here, and this performance was going to be one of the biggest of her career. When the time came, Tan walked onto stage. The crowd cheered loudly. The lights shone brightly on her, making her feel like she was in a dream. She took the microphone and started her first song. The audience was hooked, listening to every word she sang. It looked like everything was going perfectly. But then, something terrible happened. In the middle of the performance, just as Tan was singing with all her energy, loud gunshots rang out. The sound of the shots shocked everyone in the room. People screamed, ducked under their seats, and tried to protect themselves. The lights flickered, and chaos filled the hall. Tan, the person everyone had come to see, collapsed on the stage. At first, no one understood what had happened. Was it part of the show? But when Tan didn't move and people saw the blood on the stage, they knew something was terribly wrong. The crowd went silent, and panic spread through the room. Some fans ran for the exits, while others tried to help. It was clear that Tan DaGod had been shot, and it didn't look good. The police were called immediately. Security rushed to the stage, but it was too late. Tan had been shot and was not moving. Fans and staff were in shock. The media cameras kept rolling, capturing the horrifying scene. It was a nightmare come true for everyone who had been there to celebrate her success. Once the police arrived, they started working quickly to figure out what had happened. They had a lot of questions. Was this a robbery? Had someone tried to steal something from the event? And Tan had been in the wrong place at the wrong time? The police started interviewing witnesses. Some said they had heard the shots, but no one had seen the shooter. The people who were closest to the stage told the police that Tan had been standing there, singing and smiling when the shots were fired. The police also found security footage, but it wasn't clear who the shooter was. It was a very confusing scene. The investigators began to wonder. Could Tan have been involved in something shady? Had she been dealing with dangerous people or hidden enemies? They knew Tan's music was often about survival, struggles, and overcoming obstacles. Many of her songs talked about difficult times in her life. Could someone have had a grudge against her because of her past? But the police also knew that Tan had many fans who loved her. Her rise to fame had been a story of strength, survival, and fighting through hardship. So, why would anyone want to hurt her? The police had to figure out if there were enemies she had made along the way, or if someone else had a motive to kill her. In the days after the shooting, the police kept looking for answers. They asked Tan's friends, family, and team if they knew anything unusual. They went through all the details of her life, trying to figure out who might have wanted to harm her. Was there a message behind the shooting? Was it random? Or was there a bigger reason for why someone would hurt such a famous person? Investigators knew they had to find out quickly because the entire world was watching. Tan DaGod had been a rising star, and her sudden death was going to leave a lot of questions that needed answers. The investigation continued for weeks. The police tried to track down any clues that might lead them to the shooter. They kept reviewing the security footage, hoping to find something that would help them catch the person responsible. But it wasn't until they began looking into Tan's past that they discovered something unexpected. They started to connect the dots between Tan's past relationships and people she had known before she became famous. Could the shooter have been someone from her past? Someone who had been hurt by the stories Tan had told in her music? Or was it someone who wanted to use her fame for their own gain? As the investigation went on, it became clear that Tan's death wasn't just a random act of violence. There was more to the story than anyone had realized. The answers were out there, but they were buried deep, waiting to be uncovered. The truth behind Tan DaGod's death was slowly coming into focus, and when the police finally uncovered what had happened, it was a revelation that no one could have predicted. The world was about to find out the shocking truth. After Tan DaGod was tragically shot at her promotional event, investigators quickly started working to figure out who did it. They needed answers. One of the first things they did was look at the security camera footage from the event. These cameras were placed around the venue to make sure everything was safe. The footage would show them what happened before, during, and after shooting. They watched the video carefully, hoping to find any clues that could help them catch the person responsible for Tan's death. As they reviewed the footage, they were not prepared for what they would discover. Among the crowd at the event, there was someone who stood out. It was Tan's ex-boyfriend, Marcus Mack Green, the very person she had publicly said she killed years ago. The investigators were shocked. How could someone who was supposed to be dead be alive? And at her event, this was a huge surprise. Mack had been the center of Tan's most famous song, where she claimed she killed him in self-defense to escape his abusive behavior. This made Tan a hero to many people. But now, here he was, alive and well. What was he doing at the event? He wasn't just there as a random person in the crowd. In the footage, it showed Mack walking around the venue with people Tan trusted. He was with her inner circle, the group of people she worked with closely. This made it even more suspicious. Why was Mack spending time with Tan's team? Had Tan known he was alive? Was she part of a bigger plan that no one had seen coming? The discovery of Mack at the event led to many questions. Investigators wanted to know how it was possible for Mack to be alive. If Tan had killed him in self-defense, how could he have faked his death and stayed hidden for so long? And why didn't anyone know he was alive? One of the most important questions was whether Tan knew Mack was still out there. She had spent so many years telling her fans, her friends, and the public that she killed him to protect herself. If she knew he was still alive, was she hiding that fact? Had she been living in fear all this time, not telling anyone that Mack was still around? Or was this something that caught her by surprise, just like it caught everyone else? The investigators also wondered what Mack's plan was. If he had been hiding for all these years, why would he suddenly show up at her event? Was he there just to watch her perform? Or did he have a bigger purpose? Did he want revenge? Had he been planning this for a long time? And was Tan's death part of his plan all along? This discovery made everything even more complicated. It raised so many questions about what really happened between Tan and Mack. Was Tan's whole story about killing Mack a lie? If so, what else had been hidden? Was there something more to her rise to fame than just a tale of survival? And how could Mack have been involved in her life for so long without anyone knowing he was alive? The footage made the investigators rethink everything. The questions piled up, and they had to find answers. The mystery of Tan DaGod's death was no longer just about who killed her. It was about the truth behind the lies she told and the secrets that were hidden for so long. As the investigators worked to find more answers, the public started to react. Fans who believed Tan's story about killing Mack in self-defense felt betrayed. They thought they knew the truth, but now it seemed like everything they believed might have been a lie. They wanted to know, was Tan really the survivor she claimed to be? Or was there a different story behind her success? The mystery deepened as investigators continued to follow the trail Mack had left. They had to figure out how he faked his death, how he stayed hidden for so long, and why he was at Tan's event. Every new piece of information only added more questions. The more they uncovered, the more complicated everything became. The investigation was far from over. There was still much to learn about Tan's past, her relationship with Mack, and how everything led to her tragic death. As the investigators kept digging, they hoped to find the answers that would finally make sense of everything. The big question remained, why did Mack shoot Tan? Was it just about revenge of the past? Or was there something else at play? The investigation pointed to several possible motives, but nothing was certain. What was clear, though, was that Tan never saw it coming. She trusted those around her, but she had no idea that Mac, the man she thought was dead, was hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to betray her. Tan's story had always been about survival, how she overcame the violence in her past and turned it into music that spoke to the world. But in the end, it was that very past that came back to haunt her. Mac's return and the murder left many unanswered questions. What did he hope to gain by killing Tan? Was it simply revenge for the past? Or did he want something more? Was it the jealousy of seeing Tan succeed while he remained hidden? Or did he have a plan that no one could understand? The truth behind Mac's return and the murder of Tan DaGod remains a mystery, but one thing is certain. Tan's death was not a random act. It was a betrayal. A betrayal from someone who was supposed to be a part of her past, but who became the reason for her tragic end. When Tan DaGod was killed, the world was shocked. People had loved her music, and she had become a voice for many, telling stories of survival and strength. Her death left a big hole in the music world, and everyone who knew her or listened to her songs felt the sadness. Fans were devastated because Tan's life and music had inspired them. They looked up to her, and many even felt connected to her, as if she had gone through the same struggles they were facing. But after her death, something else started happening. Fans didn't just feel sad, they felt betrayed. Tan's whole life story, the one she shared through her music, was built on a message of survival, about how she killed her abusive ex-boyfriend in self-defense. People believed the story. They admired her for getting away from him and surviving. But when the truth came out, everything changed. It turned out that the story Tan had told the world wasn't the whole truth. Her ex, Mac, was alive, and he had used her story to hide his real intentions. He had faked his death, and all the time, he had been plotting to hurt her. Fans started asking, was everything we knew about Tan a lie? Tan's music and the way she had built her career were all based on this story. Now, people began to question if they had been tricked. They felt sad, confused, and angry that they had trusted a story that wasn't true. The media also didn't know what to think. Some people remembered Tan as a strong survivor who had been through a lot. They admired her for standing up against abuse and finding a way to make it in the music world. But others in the media started to wonder, was her story really true? Was it possible that Tan had been part of a bigger plan to hide the truth? The news stories about her death became mixed. Some remember her as a woman who survived, while others thought she might have been manipulated or even used as a pawn by someone else. When the police finally arrested Mac, everything changed again. The truth about what he had done came to light. He had been the one who had faked his death years ago, and he had been hiding in the shadows all along. He had used Tan's fame and her story of survival to hide his true plans. He had been playing a game all these years, and in the end, he was the one who killed her. Mac's arrest shocked the world. People couldn't understand how someone could do this to someone they once loved. How could he fake his death and stay hidden for so long? Even more shocking was the fact that he had planned to kill Tan all along. Why didn't Tan see it coming? Why didn't she notice the signs that Mac was still alive and planning something bad? This question remained unanswered. Some believed that Tan had been too focused on her career to see the danger right in front of her. Others thought that she might have been too trusting of the people around her, not realizing that her past could come back to haunt her in such a terrible way. Mac's arrest and the discovery of his plans made it clear. The world had been watching the wrong story. Tan was a survivor, yes, but she had also been a victim of betrayal. Her entire life and career had been built on a lie, and the truth came out too late to save her. Tan DaGod's legacy is complicated. She was a survivor, and she inspired many people with her music and her story. Her songs were filled with hope and strength, showing others that it was possible to overcome tough times. But after her death, people began to realize that Tan's story wasn't as simple as they had thought. She was not only a survivor, but she was also a victim of betrayal. The very people she trusted the most were the ones who helped bring her down. Her fame and her music helped her become a star, but they also put her in danger. Her public story was part of the reason why she had such a big following, but it also made her a target. Tan's fame helped her, but it also hurt her in the end. She became too caught up in her story and trusted the wrong people, leading her to her tragic death. Now, people ask, did Tan's fame and her music help her or hurt her? Could her story have been different if she had trusted fewer people or kept her past to herself? Could she have avoided the fate she met? Or was it always going to happen because of the people she surrounded herself with? What does Tan DaGod's story teach us about trust and betrayal in the world of fame? Could she have avoided this fate? Or was she doomed from the start? If you were in Tan's shoes, would you have trusted the people around you, or would you have suspected something was wrong? These questions challenge us to think about our own lives and the people we trust. Can we really trust the people who say they care about us? Or do they have their own hidden plans? Tan's story makes us wonder about the choices we make and the people we allow into our lives. If you found this story as gripping and heartbreaking as we did, don't forget to like this video and share it with others. And if you want to hear more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind these tragic events, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest stories, updates, and discussions. Thank you for joining us on this journey to seek justice and explore the truth. Together, we can make a difference. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware.